Unexpected ambush on the U.S. Marines. Recently, a series of attacks have broken out that have put the U.S. Navy in check, directly hitting warships considered symbols of American military power. One of the main targets was the aircraft carrier USS Abraham Lincoln, a nuclear giant that was operating in the Arabian Sea, as well as destroyers strategically deployed in the Red Sea. These incidents represent not only a tactical challenge, but also a blow to Washington's pride and defense strategy. The group responsible, identified as an insurgent force with advanced technological capabilities, launched cruise missiles and precision drones to carry out these attacks. Most alarming is the possibility that they used hypersonic technology, which would have bypassed the most advanced defense systems of American ships. This development marks a new phase in the region's conflicts, as it shows that even the most sophisticated U.S. military assets can be vulnerable to this kind of weaponry. The attack on the USS Abraham Lincoln, a nuclear aircraft carrier that represents a floating city armed with more than 90 combat aircraft, advanced radar systems, and state-of-the-art anti-aircraft defenses, symbolizes a major setback for the U.S. Navy. This ship is considered a pillar of Washington's power projection in strategic areas such as the Persian Gulf, where global trade and energy supply are of vital importance. Although the Pentagon has acknowledged the attacks, information about the damage and specific details has been limited. Meanwhile, some Western media downplay the events, calling them minor incidents. However, in other regions and independent platforms, the events are described as a significant escalation that could alter the balance of power in the Middle East. One of the most important questions is how this insurgent group has managed to acquire and operate such advanced technology. Intelligence sources suggest that powers like Iran and Russia could be involved, providing weapons, training, and logistical support. This theory gains strength when considering that these attacks require a technical sophistication and coordination that exceed the usual capabilities of local militias. These incidents also reflect how traditional red lines in global conflicts are constantly being crossed. Just as in Ukraine, where Western powers have armed their allies, it seems that a similar scenario is unfolding in the Middle East, but in the opposite direction. This phenomenon raises questions about the future of international relations and the evolution of regional conflicts towards more direct confrontations. The ability to successfully attack U.S. military assets has far-reaching implications. The ships hit were stationed at strategic points to protect trade routes and energy resources. That these attacks were possible not only challenges U.S. military superiority, but also alters the power dynamics in a region already marked by tensions. These events could trigger a forceful response from Washington and its allies, further increasing tensions in the Middle East. As the attacks continue and the warring sides receive support from major powers, the risk of a wider and more prolonged war grows exponentially. The recent attack on the USS Abraham Lincoln and destroyers in the Red Sea represents a significant escalation in the conflicts in the Middle East, not only because of the military impact, but also because of the geopolitical implications of these events. To fully understand this incident, it is essential to examine the context in which it occurs, the capabilities of the actors involved, and the possible strategic repercussions at a global level, the vulnerability of aircraft carriers, and the perception of U.S. military power. The USS Abraham Lincoln is not just any aircraft carrier, it is a centerpiece of U.S. military might. As part of the Nimitz class, it is designed to be virtually invulnerable. Its ability to deploy up to 90 aircraft and its advanced defense systems, such as the Aegis system and multifunctional radars, make it a floating city designed to dominate any war scenario. However, the recent attack highlights a critical vulnerability that will likely force the Pentagon to review its deployment and defense strategy. On the other hand, the perception of U.S. military power is based not only on the technological capacity of its weaponry, but also on the belief that it is invulnerable. This attack not only physically damages a flagship vessel, but also erodes that perception of invincibility, especially in a region as volatile as the Middle East, where alliances and symbolic power play a crucial role. The fact that the missiles and drones used were able to circumvent the advanced defenses of the USS Abraham Lincoln and the destroyers in the Red Sea points to an unprecedented level of technological sophistication on the part of the attackers. This raises questions about the source of these capabilities. As noted, it is likely that actors like Iran and Russia have provided advanced technology, training, and logistics to the groups responsible for the attack. Iran, in particular, has been developing and perfecting missile and drone technology in recent years, with direct or indirect help from Russia. Moscow, for its part, could be using this conflict as a way to retaliate against the West for its support of Ukraine, delivering advanced technology to the strategic enemies of the United States in the Middle East. These attacks could mark the beginning of a new era of proxy wars, where local armed groups act as extensions of the great powers. The Red Sea and the Persian Gulf are strategically critical areas for global trade, especially for oil. Any disruption to the security of these sea lanes could have significant economic repercussions. The recent attacks show that key trade routes are no longer safe, even under the direct protection of the world's most advanced naval forces. This could lead to an increase in maritime insurance costs and disruptions to the global oil supply, aggravating international economic tensions. Furthermore, the fact that the attacks have occurred in such critical areas highlights the ability of non-state actors to upset the balance of power in a highly militarized region. This could also lead to a tightening of security policies by allied countries in the region, such as Saudi Arabia and Israel, which could increase their efforts to contain Iranian influence and threats from Tehran-backed militias. The Pentagon is in a delicate position. An overly aggressive response could escalate the conflict and risk a direct confrontation with Iran or even Russia. However, an insufficient response could be interpreted as a sign of weakness, which would encourage further attacks. In this context, it is likely that the United States will opt for a combination of limited military responses and an increase in economic sanctions against the actors involved. In addition, Washington could pressure its European and Asian allies to strengthen their presence in the region. Countries such as the United Kingdom and France, which have strategic interests in the Persian Gulf, could be forced to increase their logistical and military support in the region, although this also exposes them to being targets of future attacks, future scenarios, and possible escalations. The attack on the USS Abraham Lincoln could mark the beginning of a more intense phase in the conflicts in the Middle East. If these attacks become a recurring tactic, we could see a significant shift in the military strategy of the United States and its allies. This could include the introduction of new defense technologies, the deployment of more troops in the region, and greater collaboration with regional allies to ensure the security of sea lanes. On the other hand, it is important to consider the impact of these attacks on the internal political dynamics of the United States. With presidential elections on the horizon, the attacks could be used as an argument by different political sectors, either to justify a more aggressive approach to foreign policy or to criticize the cost of military interventions abroad. In short, the attack on the USS Abraham Lincoln and the destroyers in the Red Sea is not an isolated incident, but a turning point in the geopolitical landscape of the Middle East. Its repercussions could be felt not only in the region but throughout the world, marking the beginning of a new stage in tensions between the great powers and their regional allies.